Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 1504, written by nattikinz, the teacher that surpassed time. A few years ago, my best friend and fellow English teacher texted me. One of my students had been arrested for indecent exposure on the bus. I was shocked, because I would never have imagined the student doing that. On the same day I received the text, my husband and I went to hang out with some friends. We were sitting on the couch when I remembered the story of my student's arrest. I said to my husband, "Hey, one of my students got arrested." My husband said, "I know, on the bus for indecent exposure." "How did you know?" I asked. "You told me last week." I tried to explain to him that I had just learned about it. If I had known last week, I would have already told my best friend. The fact she didn't know until that day when she texted me tells me I wasn't having some memory lapse. But my husband insisted that I not only had told him, we had searched on his office computer to see if it had made the news yet. I cannot explain how my husband knew this story beforehand, but the fact that he specified the charge and location before I could reveal those details tells me he knew. And searching for it online is exactly what I would have done, except I didn't. Was it an alternate reality he experienced? No clue. Case notes file 1504, the teacher that surpassed time. So this has to be a sort of time warp, multiverse transition period where somehow your husband interacted with a version of the future and then ported back into real time. And didn't seem to notice any other differences, so it must have been a very short scene, I guess you could say. Because it wasn't just information downloaded into his brain, which I think that kind of information is all out there and some minds can receive it better or decode it better. But in this case, it was an actual vivid scene, a memory of it happening, of being told it, not just information or knowledge being there where it shouldn't be. This definitely has to relate to the multiverse and being shown future information in real time. Remember, there's a quantum time foam. There's multiple versions of the future. That's the whole point of the multiverse. Now, it is possible that every single possible future has already happened, but even then, the future is not written in stone. We still have to make our choices based on where we are now, unless this is a replay, which is another factor. You can go on quite the tangent on this topic. I don't know what the true answer is. All I know is, or all I suspect is, there isn't just one future. But the knowledge probably is out there, of at least one of them. And the one your husband saw was very near to this one, and knew about your student. Incredible. Case file number 1505, written by searchingforthis, the golden-haired guardian. When I was stationed in Italy, I had my own house in Pordenone. It was a 3-bedroom, way too much space for a single guy like me. I slept in the living room by my TV as the back bedrooms and hallways were always cold and always gave me creepy vibes. But that's beside the point. I had a dream one night of a golden-haired child. He was running out of the back hallway into the living room for protection. I scooped him up as demons lumbered from the hallway and the corners of the living room. They had surrounded us. I ran to my side door leading to the porch, but Cerberus was there. Then I ran to the front door, but they were coming down the street as well. At this point, the child began to glow incredibly bright, and the demons hissed and disappeared. I woke up. A week later, I found the golden hair on my uniform jacket that was hanging on the dining room chair. I didn't know anybody with curly long blonde hair, certainly nobody that came over alone. But there lay this singular hair. I ignored it, but another week later I found another singular blonde hair on my couch pillow. It made me pause, but I still ignored it until a couple weeks later. I was walking down the hallway and saw a nearby shelf on my incense box. A singular blonde hair curling out of the little hole for the incense stick. I still find little golden hairs at random times to this day. Case notes file 1505, the golden-haired guardian. I think this was a physical manifestation of your guardian angel. The golden hair as a almost sort of breadcrumb leading you to it. I think if you keep collecting those golden hairs, something will happen. And you know, it is pretty common that bodyguards become emotionally attached to their protectee, the person they're guarding. That is very common. And vice versa. Needless to say, if you're not aware your bodyguard exists, you can't get emotionally attached to them, but they could get emotionally attached to you. Who's to say that guardian angels don't have emotions? I don't think they're automatons. So it's entirely possible that if we have a guardian angel, they could become attached to us, beyond the scope of their function, or their job. Case file number 1506, written by Baconwastaken, The Destined Neighbors. My husband and I met in our late 20s. We grew up near each other, but went to different high schools and colleges. We're a few years apart and hung with completely different crowds. My parents put a bid on the house next door to his parents when I was about 11. It fell through and we moved elsewhere. While in college, he traveled to my school to compete in a game. Since it was homecoming, he ended up briefly watching the parade. Out of hundreds of people, he remembers me and tells his friends I was a cool chick. Not only had I been drinking, but I was dressed as a crab standing next to Ariel from The Little Mermaid. I had nearly crapped myself when he told me he was watching me dance badly around in the street. While attending a house party with my now husband, I was looking at pictures on the walls taken at parties his friends had thrown back in high school. I was on one side of a picture and he was on the other side of the big group. I went to about 20 parties back in the day. I do not remember ever partying anywhere near his area. My husband and I were best friends with a guy and girl who are cousins. We both went to endless family gatherings but never met. We heard stories about each other and had never seen a picture of one another. After 6 years, we finally met and were an item by the end of the night. We've been together ever since. Case notes file 1506, The Destined Neighbors. It does feel like subtle fate, and I say subtle because I don't believe in absolute fate, but I do believe in being influenced or directed in a certain path. So I think the gist of the word makes sense in this context. I don't believe you had to be with her, but I do believe that forces intended you to be with her. I also don't believe in just one soulmate, but I do believe there are people out there that are especially well paired for us, and finding them can be difficult, so getting help, hey, I'm okay with that. Cupid, Shoot Your Arrow. Case file number 1507, written by NebelLicht, The Mystery of the Disappearing Marlboro Reds. I used to work at Speedway for over a year and such. I started smoking there. Had a nervous breakdown there. Oh, by the way, it was a teeny Speedway right next to the ghetto. Anyway, one evening I was working by myself. Again, because it was so tiny and I even closed by myself. And one of my usual customers had come in to ask for a pack of Marlboro Reds 100s. The tall pack, soft pack. Now, having worked for a while, my way of grabbing the cigarette packs from their little homes and tossing them onto the counter had become quite sophisticated. This particular pack I grabbed between my index and middle finger, swung my arm downward towards my side, still holding it like that. But as my arm came down and finished its curve, the pack left my fingers and vanished. There was no sound of the pack hitting the floor nor the wall. It did not fly backwards into the open security door that was behind me. The pack left my fingers and left this realm of reality. The customer stood there just as dumbfounded as I was. The two of us stood in total silence before I slowly grabbed a second pack and re-attempted said stunt, just to hear what it would have sounded like. It made an odd thap noise, you know, the kind of sound you would expect a pack of cigarettes to make if it hit something. I sold him the pack, still a bit freaked out, and then proceeded to check the entire store for that lost pack. I even went across the store and checked behind racks and so forth. You know, a distance that would be impossible for the pack to travel. Nothing. Though it was cool, I guess. Still kind of freaky. I have other similar stories about things like this, such as water cups that vanished, chocolate, toys, childhood toys that is. Now that I think about it, this sort of thing happens to me a lot. Maybe I'm a wormhole. Sweet. Case notes file 1507. The Mystery of the Disappearing Marlboro Reds. Right, and ending this on a classic DOP. But a bit more extreme, because most DOP happens out of sight, there's no physical touch. So that it was in your hand and then it vanished from your hand those do happen, but they're much rarer. And to me that could lean towards some sort of guardian angel interference. Maybe their guardian angel didn't want them to smoke anymore, I don't know. One thing I could say is that if all cigarettes just vanished from the earth, that would be a very interesting DOP event and probably for the betterment of humankind, won't you say? And now time for the question of the day. What is your favorite topping on pizza? For me, it has to be pepperoni or jalapenos. It's a cross between the two. I could have a pizza with just pepperoni or just jalapenos. Now, even better is pepperoni and jalapenos. And even better is pepperoni, jalapenos, and black olives. So I guess, expand on that. What is your favorite pizza in general? All the toppings allowed. Damn, I'm hungry. I'm always hungry. Why am I always hungry? Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.